Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on functions in Python. In this lecture, we look at what functions are and how we can create functions. Functions are a group of organized codes with a name, and they can be called using a parenthesis. And these codes in a function are reusable. Once we create a function, we can use the codes inside our function as much as we want. That way we don't have to recreate another code. So that's one of the features of functions. The codes are reusable. Let's see how we can create a function. We create a function by using the def keyword. So def space and then function name. Then we have parentheses followed by a colon, then new line, indentation, indent, and then body of our function code goes here. So this is the general format of a function. We start our function definition with the def keyword, def space name of our function, then we have parentheses, colon, new line, indent, and then body of our function goes here. So in this parenthesis we can pass one or more arguments for our function go inside this parenthesis, and we can have 0 or more arguments. We'll look at arguments later on. So these are optional arguments. We can have 0 or more arguments. So function name here is name of the function, and we use that for identifying a specific function. And usually we give it a name that portrays what the function does. For instance, if our function multiplies two numbers, we'll give it a name, let's say multiplier or multiply or something like that. We give it a descriptive name or a name that describes the functionality of the specific function. And then these arguments, they are also called parameters. So the names are used interchangeably, arguments or parameters. These are things that are accepted from the caller. So whoever is calling this function names, these functions, pass those parameters or arguments. And they appear in this parenthesis. And then we have the body of the function that contains the organized codes for our function. Great. Next, let's create a simple function. Okay, let's say we have our def statement, and then we have our function name, then our parentheses. As I mentioned earlier, we can have 0 or more parameters. So we'll just have no parameters for this example. Then let's say our function prints body of our function. Okay. So this is a simple function that simply prints body of our function. And in order to call our function, we simply write our function name. So in this case, this is our function name, and then we put parentheses. Notice that our function name, when we call our function, the function name has to be at the same level as the def statement, as the def keyword. They have to be at the same level. So we have function name, empty parentheses, and then run it. We get body of our function. Okay, so this is a simple function that accepts no parameters. Now let's take the same function. Let's say function name, and then we have that, and let's simply print body goes here. Now let's pass one parameter into our function name. So we can pass any parameter, let's say x. So in this example, our function accepts one argument or parameter. So that means when we call our function, we have our function name, and then we pass, since it accepts one parameter, we can pass it. So we can pass any parameter we like. I can pass 4, for instance, and then that will print body goes here. I can even call my function and then pass any other parameter, let's say 8, and then run it, body goes here. I can say function name and then pass, let's say a, body goes here. So it accepts one parameter. What do you think will happen if I simply call my function without passing any parameter? So this will give me an error. Let me run it and show you. So here it says function name takes exactly one argument, right? Argument means parameter, and we only gave it 0 arguments. So that's the error. Okay, and then we can give it one argument here, run it, and the error goes away. Next, let's create a function that subtracts one number from another. Okay, we have our def statement, and then let's give it a name. Let's say subtract. Then we'll pass two arguments. Let's say x and y, colon, then new line. Let's say print x minus y. Okay, so this function accepts 2 arguments or parameters, and then it prints the first parameter minus the second parameter. Okay, now let's call our function. To call our function, we just simply call the function name, which is subtract in this case, and then since it accepts 2 parameters, let's pass, let's say 12 and 5. Then run it, we get 7 back. So in this case, the first parameter is 12 minus the second parameter is 5. 12 minus 5 is 7. What if I put 5 minus 5 and 12? 5 and then 12. So in this case, the first parameter x is 5. So 5 minus y is 12. So we'll get negative 7. Let's see one more function definition. Define function, and let's call it greet. Then we'll pass a parameter, let's say x, colon, and then new line, let's print hello plus x. Now let's call our function greet. Then let's pass, since it accepts 1 argument or parameter, let's pass this hello, let's say Python, and run it. So we get hello Python. Let me put some space there, run it again. We get hello Python. Great. To summarize, we saw what functions are and how we can create functions, and we looked at arguments and how to call a function. In the next lecture, we'll continue our discussion on functions. Thank you, everyone.